Class is in session, hitting the books. College basketball show Tuesday, March 18th. Ian Cameron and Connor Mack with you, and we are ready for the NCAA tournament. It is here. No more talking about who got snubbed. No more talking about any of that. It's time to get down to the stuff that matters, and that is the matchups on the court starting tonight in the first four. We've already talked about the first four matchups for Tuesday and Wednesday. If you didn't catch it on yesterday's show, you can go back and watch Monday's show. We talked about all the first four games, the Tuesday and Wednesday first four NCAA tournament games. This show is about Thursday, talking Thursday first round matchups. And there are some good ones that we will go through, including this first game. Is it potential upset alert that we might see here with McNeese State and Clemson? This is the 5-12 matchup. In this one, we've got McNeese State and Clemson here to get us going on this show. Just see what the line is here. We got the screen. There we go. It's about time. There we go. 7.5. Clemson home as the favorite here in this one. The total here sitting at pretty much in that 134.5 range in this game. We have to talk about last year for a moment when it comes to McNeese State, because McNeese State was a very popular upset pick in the first round of the tournament last year. And I guess we thought, well, are they ready for prime time? McNeese State, they weren't. They were absolutely obliterated, and they were a very popular underdog pick in the first round of that tournament. The question now is going to be, have they gotten better this year? I think they are a better team this year. And have they learned a little something from, getting just absolutely annihilated in the first round of the tournament last year? That remains to be seen. Clemson, meanwhile, they lost in the ACC tournament to Louisville, who ended up going on to the ACC tournament championship game. You look at this Clemson team in the past, PJ Hall was kind of that go-to guy last year, and they made a run in the tournament last year as well. They got into the second weekend of the NCAA tournament before finally bowing out. So Brad Brownell showed an ability to get this team through the first weekend, win a couple of games. It's, like I said, a bit of a different Clemson team this year when you look at them, a little bit more where the production is spread out, with Chase Hunter as clearly the head of the snake. But, they got Victor Locken and Jaden Zachary and others that can step up and help contribute. I kind of want to take McNeese here, but I got to admit, C-Mac, I'm a little bit leery based on what they showed us last year. What do you think of this one here? McNeese State taking on Clemson.
I know. I don't know about the matchup. Like last year, Clemson, you talked about, made it, the second weekend, whatever, Sweet 16. But, for the last 10 years or around there, like they've been a fade for me in the tournament. They've bowed out quick. I do like this team. They shoot the three well. I thought they played a lot better on the road and on neutral courts did Clemson. I think this number's right. I mean, I thought it'd be maybe a little bit bigger because, yeah, McNeese is the pick you talked about last year. And I want to take them. Everything so far, I haven't, like, how big are these defensive numbers from them? You got to go through the conference that they're in, of course. And what they played a little bit early on in the year when they played some of these better teams, like they beat North Texas, but they had a few losses to better schools. What do they have here? I just had it up. They lost to Liberty. They lost to Bama. I remember that they covered. They were 17.5-point dogs there at Alabama, 72-64. I think they could hang in here because I was the biggest fade McNeese because I thought they a lot when they went on the road laying massive numbers. And then I'd want to take them as a dog during the tournament, but I'm a little bit hesitant here. I definitely lean that way. It's a little bit like UC San Diego we talked about, but that matchup's been different. That line's crazy short. We'll get to that later. So I don't know. I want to take McNeese here. I haven't bet it yet. So yeah, it's definitely a tough game. Low total too. I could see this going either way on the total as well.
Yeah, I lean McNeese. I haven't bet it yet, and I'm not sure that I will. That's kind of where I'm at with that game. This is an underdog that I will be on. This next, could maybe hang. By the way, I want to point out with these games, if you're watching this on replay, we are not going in order of start time. We're just going in order of betting rotation. So the start times are out of whack here. So we're going just in order of the betting rotation numbers. But the first 4 games that we're talking about are the Providence, Rhode Island site for these games, Amica Pavilion there, including this one, High Point and Purdue. We've got Purdue 8-point favorites, 153.5 the total. This underdog I like. I'm going to take a shot here with High Point and the Panthers here, +8. I didn't love Purdue's finish to the season at all. You can go all the way back to mid-February. This team's played lackluster fucking basketball pretty much ever since then. Defense hasn't been great. Obviously, I love Braden Smith, tremendous point guard, but there's a lot of holes in this team. If those guys aren't making shots, they're in trouble. Defense is very soft. They have very little size and in front court girth this year, minus Zach Edey compared to last year. There's just a lot of issues with Purdue. And we know Matt Painter is no stranger to fucking getting bounced early and upset in the tournament. Hello, Fairleigh Dickinson and Tobin Anderson a few years ago and what they did to Purdue. And you look at this High Point team, and I watched a lot of the Big South tournament, and this Big South conference at times in the past has been overwhelmed, in the first round. But I don't know if this team is going to be that way. They are a veteran group. They're loaded with all kinds of experience. They have a great balance of perimeter scoring and interior size that I think is going to give Purdue trouble. Size, if the other team's got some size, that's going to be an issue for Purdue. And when you look at this team with that High Point is sent into this tournament, they've got Giffa to deal with. They've got obviously Chase Johnston, Kamani Hamilton, of course, and one of the great players too on this team, and he was red hot in the tournament, and he can get red hot from deep, is Bobby Pettiford. This is a guy that actually played some major power conference basketball in the past, ended up transferring to High Point. And Bobby Pettiford's one hell of a player, something that Purdue's going to have to watch out for in this game. Dangerous, I think, inside, dangerous outside. Purdue not playing their best down the stretch. We know this team, has been picked off early in the NCAA tournament in the past. So I'm going to take High Point here, plus the number. CMAC, I think there's a high-scoring game, too. You know me with the Purdue overs late in the season. I think this has a chance to go over. The only concern is how high this number is.
Yes.
53.5. But I wouldn't be betting it under. Let's put it that way. CMAC, what do you think?
That's all I looked at this total. Thought it was a little bit high.
Don't forget him, too. Good player. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, High Point. They're deep. The team isn't just plays the 5 or 6. I mean, they have like an 8 or 9 man rotation you talked about. And Purdue, towards the end of the year, struggled, rebounding. He struggled down low, 2-point baskets. They were awful in conference play. And that leads me to High Point because a lot of their games, maybe not early on, but it seemed like they were in the 80s, definitely down the stretch, the last 10 to 12 games. Were just consistent. But they're playing Purdue here, not Weber, Winthrop, Longwood, etc. But I think they have the shot makers to stay in this a little bit. I think it might still get over because I think Purdue can kind of do what they want a little bit offensively against High Point. Still, this High Point defense, I don't know if it's really great. So I think this could get over. I wanted to look at it a little bit more. I wanted to hit too. Yeah, High Point gets a ton to the free throw line. They're decent. Purdue pretty average, 150. They make 14, they get 19 and 73%. So maybe we could still get over in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. High Point in the over side or total. That's what I'm interested in that one. All right, let's go to this one. Arkansas and Kansas. Or if it was pronounced the way it was spelled, you could say Arkansas and Kansas. But of course, we know it's Arkansas taking on Kansas. We've got Kansas 4.5-point favorites, 145.5 the total. One thing that I feel I try to be entertaining, give you some energy on these shows. The one thing I know I'm bad at and I could improve on is going on and blabbering on for minutes upon minutes upon minutes on a game that I have no opinion on or a very little opinion on. And for me, that's this game. I don't expect to be involved betting this game pregame. It's two teams I would have rather bet against and faded here in this first round tournament game. And unfortunately, they're playing each other. One thing I know, John Calipari is not a guy that I trust in March in these tournaments. We've seen his teams, his Kentucky teams, obviously the last few years get bounced early. And a funny narrative I keep hearing, and this is probably from some people that maybe think they just look at the injury report and they see there's a key guy coming back and they think, wow, this is going to be a better team now. But a lot of people, rhetoric I hear is, well, Boogie Flan's back. Look out for Arkansas now. Do you guys know that they played their best basketball without him? They actually played better
Yeah, I
basketball
mean they did
without him.
go on the run. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. That's when the run started. C-Mac, it was when Boogie Flan got injured. That's when Arkansas, got through the mediocrity and the underachieving, and then when he gets hurt, and they actually came together as a team and played better basketball. So this notion and idea that Boogie Flan's going to make them better and more dangerous, I'd be worried about putting him back on this team now, with the way they played down the stretch. So it's a very hard game. I don't trust Arkansas. But gosh almighty, I'm not running to lay 4.5 with Kansas either with the way they finished. So it's pass for me. C-Mac, do you have any interest here?
Not really, because both these teams have just, I don't know, like Kansas is just, you don't, other than home, just I want to back them at all. Any game that's on the road or on the neutral, they've just been awful this season. I don't know what to make of Arkansas. Yeah, Flan coming back. With his hand, you talked about they played a little bit better. I thought the offense got somewhat better, the last 2-3 weeks of the year. So I kind of lean their way. I mean, at this point, I just don't want to lay 4.5 with Kansas. Their defense, the numbers look all right. Can they bring that here? In a team that all I heard was just dysfunction from this whole basketball team all year long. Can they get up? This is a tournament. Maybe they could win a few games, but I'm not right now buying it. So, I mean, if I had to, I'd take Arkansas.
Yeah, I agree with the move up. I don't love the over, but I certainly lean that way with the total here, 145.5. You're right. Arkansas on defense kind of did step back later in the year. Kansas, they're not exactly we're shutting it down at the defensive end either. Nebraska, Omaha, and St. John's. This is the last of the 4 games at Providence on Thursday. St. John's 18.5-point favorites, 148 the total. Nebraska, Omaha, the Mavericks, champions of the Summit League. Here's what I'm going to do with this game. I'm going to take a shot with Nebraska, Omaha first half. First half. What do we know about St. John's? They're coming off the Big East Championship, Madison Square Garden, Saturday night, beating Creighton. What else do we know about St. John's? They have consistently started slow. They have consistently fallen behind early in games. And Rick Pitino has been on record saying he doesn't mind that. He says we like to, wade our way into the game, kind of figure things out early. We make our adjustments, and then we go from that point on. But it's been pretty consistent here down the stretch how St. John's has fallen behind in the first, 5-10 minutes of the majority of their games. And with this being, a situation where it's now outside the Big East, it's a team that does have a lot of offensive firepower. I don't know about their defense, Nebraska, Omaha, but certainly as far as scoring, they got multiple players that can fill it up. And the one thing about St. John's, too, is while we love their tenacity, we love the toughness, we love the team camaraderie, they play as a unit, defense and rebounding outstanding. Their shooting is sometimes their kryptonite. And this could be a game early on where maybe the shots aren't falling early for St. John's, and they just need a few minutes to kind of get into the game and figure out this particular opponent here, Nebraska, Omaha. So I don't trust Nebraska, Omaha plus 18.5 for the full game because we know St. John's gets better, gets stronger as the game goes on. You could just see them turning up that defensive meter again up to 10, and there goes the points. They can just totally put the clamps down and the wet blanket over you. Just ask, every team they beat in the Big East tournament, Marquette, Creighton, who just stopped scoring, down the stretch, especially in the second half. But I don't think Omaha is a bad situational first half bet here in this game. And if you agree with me, you can get Omaha here around plus 11.5 in this game for the first half. I kind of think they could keep this within 10 or less in the opening 20. C-Mac, what do you think?
They better be hitting their shots.
Yes.
I mean, from 3, which they're a decent team. Shooting
this is strictly situational. Maybe Nebraska Omaha gets overwhelmed by St. John's, but this is them coming off the Big East title, Saturday to Thursday turnaround, not the easiest, and the fact they've had slow starts. That's what's led me to this way of going about it.
I just don't know how they stop St. John's. We talked about, but they should be able to get easy buckets.
Yeah.
Like I'm tempted a little bit their team total, St. John's, is right around 83, 83 and a half. I think they could get there if you're maybe worried about laying the 18 and a half in this game. As good as, like, if they hit some shots, I think they could be around. But I think as the game does go down, it'll be difficult. I backed a ton of this Nebraska Omaha team, especially early on when they were dogs, a lot. Then they rolled later on the year with all that great scoring. But they want to push pace. I don't know if that's the right, recipe here against St. John's. But St. John's, even like their bad games, maybe they don't cover, they eke it out because they just will grind the rebounds, the easy baskets, the second chance opportunities. Because you're right. We'll get down to that. I think there'll be a problem. Like, they could get out of that bracket here, but I don't think they could win at all because of that. Talked about it a ton. Shoot 30% from three and 66, I think, the free throw line. It won't be easy down the line. They should win here.
Yeah, I certainly expect them to win. I just think first half, maybe an 8, 9, 10-point lead for St. John's, and then they just run them out in the second half. That's kind of what I think this game could end up being. Because you're right, I think that size and that physicality of St. John's is going to wear down Omaha in the second half as that game goes on. All right, next up we go to Creighton and Louisville. This is actually the very first game of the first round on Thursday. The very first game to tip off at 12:15 p.m. Eastern at Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. So Louisville will have a lot of red in the crowd. 2.5-point favorites, 145.5 the total. And I get it. Louisville's playing this game in their home state, and that's definitely big. But Creighton's a great traveling fan base. That's a basketball school, big time. I think Creighton will be represented pretty solidly here. It's not a huge travel from Omaha, Nebraska to Lexington, Kentucky. I kind of lean to Creighton here. And look, first of all, Pat Kelsey, phenomenal. What a coach, what a coaching job. This was an embarrassing program 2 years in a row under Kenny Payne, and look what he did in 1 year. But a part of me thinks they kind of feasted on a weak down ACC as well this year. I mean, you have to think that was part of it. I mean, and I like Chucky Hepburn, he's a hell of a player. They're going to get Rain Smith back for this game, huge component to the offense for Louisville, and that is significant for this game, no doubt about it. But boy, oh boy, I mean, I think Creighton might just be a little bit better team, and you're getting 2.5 with them. The only concern is the venue because it is in Kentucky. You're going to see a lot of Louisville Cards fans, but just think who's going to contain Kalkbrenner, who's been a monster again down the stretch. And Louisville, I'm not sure they've got someone that can match up against him. Really, the key is for them is always Kalkbrenner on the inside and along the perimeter, Stephen Ashworth. Those are the guys you got to deal with here. If you're Louisville, you got to contain them if you're going to beat Creighton. I don't think it's going to be easy, though. I mean, at this number, I haven't bet this yet, but I'm seriously thinking about taking the points here with Creighton in a game. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they can win outright. C-Mac, what do you think?
Man, this game is tough, I think.
It's a good game, really good.
No, I think this is a good game, especially tip-off. In Lexington, yeah, there should be a bunch, but I think Creighton, there should be a decent amount of Creighton fans as well. But it's tough because I like backing both these teams a little bit, especially down the stretch. They've been playing pretty good. We tell Louisville Duke that second half where they kind of crumbled, but they both been really, really good. This seems like just a coin flip to me a little bit. I think Louisville, you touched on, maybe there's a little too much love with them with the down ACC, that maybe that's possible. This one's tough for me. Like in the end, maybe I think Louisville wins this game. I lean their way, but this is one I wanted to look at a little bit more.
All right, next up, we've got the Utah State Aggies and the UCLA Bruins. UCLA 5.5-point favorites in this matchup, and the total here sitting at, looks like around 144 is what we're looking at here with the total. This is definitely a correlated game, isn't it? If Utah State's going to cover, it's probably an over game. If UCLA is going to cover, it's probably an under game. It definitely feels like what we might see here in this matchup between the Aggies and the Bruins. UCLA, is it a good thing, C-Mac, that they just got whipped by Wisconsin? They can hit the reset button now and be ready and refreshed. I know Mick Cronin was talking about how he didn't mind getting bounced early in the Big Ten tournament, so it can kind of be a reset for his team here.
Real quick, numbers have been good of teams getting kind of their ass kicked. in those conference games, like 15 to 20-point losses. Just to tell you,
I worry about
in
Utah State handling a little bit of the defensive tenacity of UCLA, because I think at times they've shown the ability to be a little bit soft in Utah State. And look, Calhoun's done a great job, really good coach for Utah State here, done a really nice job with this group. And they have some talent here. Ian Martinez, obviously Mason Falslev is a guy they really count on, Utah State. He's got to be big here for them. They need his offense. And they need some better production, like as the supporting cast got shut down against Colorado State in the Mountain West title game. They got nothing from Albury. They didn't get much from anybody really outside of Martinez and Falslev. And those are two of their better players. But, Utah State is going to need they're going to need someone from the bench stepping up. They're going to need supporting cast being able to chip in offensively, because Mick Cronin's going to target Falslev and Martinez in particular. And if if UCLA's at times capable defense can shut them down, where else do they turn to here in this game is going to be the question. This is another tough one for me. I mean, I kind of think UCLA wins this game, but do I want to lay 5.5 with them? I'm not rushing to. The Mountain West lack of success in the tournament. Yes, Kenny woo. That is definitely something, that does concern me. Although I do think I thought the Mountain West, though, was good last year. I liked the teams going in, and they all fell flat. I'm worried about buying into the Mountain West again this year in some of these games. There is one Mountain West team I like in the first, and it's obvious which one it is. We'll get to them. But this one I'm a little bit hesitant. CMAC, what do you think?
Yeah, we'll get to them. We'll get to the one tonight, too, at the very end. I like UCLA here. It's just, I think it's 5.5. I think that's about right. That's kind of what everything lined up with me. Down the stretch, I thought Utah State struggled a little bit. I don't think they're the toughest team here. Now, if they can hit their threes, a team that's been decent all year, right around 37% all year. And they've been pretty good inside. It's just kind of everything faltered. They were, to start the year, played well on the road, then they faltered down in conference play. It kind of just seemed like they were losing. They beat the teams like Fresno, the teams they had to, Air Force, but they were just struggling. So I like UCLA. It's just I thought the number was about right. I was hoping for this, the 3, to really jump all over them. And I talked about this team's getting bounced, losing by 15 or 20. Better defense. I like them in a game like this, which is UCLA.
All right, Wofford and Tennessee. Tennessee, 19-point favorites. 133 the total here in this game. I think this is another one where a first half to Wofford I might be interested in. Tennessee's coming off going to the SEC championship game on Sunday, losing to Florida. A little bit of a trickier turnaround because they had to play through. I'm not in a rush I'm telling you, and the past results bear it out. I'm not in a rush to take the teams that had to play in their conference championship game, especially on Sunday. AAC teams, Big Ten teams, SEC teams, A10 teams. I'm not in a rush to back them in the first round because historically ATS, those teams have kind of struggled. So, and it's a lot of points too. But my concern here for Wofford is, are they going to be able to handle offensively this physicality of Tennessee and their big guys especially? I think that's probably the biggest advantage the Vols have in this game. I think their front court could really swarm Wofford here, really overwhelm them, really make it difficult on them. And, the reason why they ran to the SEC championship game is because Zakai Ziegler played like one of the best two-way guards in the country. Excellent on ball defensively, tremendous offensively, scored the ball very well. Obviously, when Lanier's going as well, look out. And then you've got the Twin Tower, and then you got so much size. You got Meshack, you've got Okpara. That guy's just a front court shot blocking machine. Milicic. I worry if Wofford's going to be able to handle all of those guys here in this game because their front court and their size is lacking a little bit. And is it just going to be put back second chance city for Tennessee here? But they are coming off the Sunday game, and I think you can make a case that Wofford in the first half could hang around. I worry about them for the 40 minutes, though, that they won't get worn down, especially by the physicality and size of Tennessee. What do you think here, CMAC? This could be an under as well. We'll see. CMAC, what do you think?
Yeah, but I think the number is right. Wofford turned it around. I mean, I thought the team was pretty bad all year. We'll get to other teams because it's always been big deal in the tournament. Guard play is huge, like you touched on.
Yeah.
So can Wofford, though, do enough here to make easy shots? I think it'll be difficult. This Tennessee defense has been top 5, top 3 all year long. But this number's huge. Like, in Rick Barnes, like, I want nothing to do with him.
No,
like, I don't want to take them for sure. Like, Wofford, I don't know. You could look at them first half. Like, Barnes, Tennessee, no, much.
I don't blame you. I can't. I mean, we know this track record of this guy, Rick Barnes, this head coach in March. It's not good. It's not good here in the NCAA tournament. But I do think Wofford first half I prefer. I get worried again about the fact that they may be a little bit worn down as this game goes on against that front court. And also what concerns me too about Wofford is 347 in the country free throw percentage as a team. Ugh,
yeah, 66%.
66%.
I mean, that's why you'd want them first half too. Like, I mean, it's Dogs is a little bit different, but yeah, I mean, you just see if they can hit some shots. They're decent from deep. If they could do that, that would be big because I don't think they're going to get easy buckets down below.
No doubt. How about this next matchup? Little Cougar. We have a couple of these games where it's the same team names. We got Bulldogs versus Bulldogs with Georgia and Gonzaga. We've got Cougars versus Cougars. SIU, Edwardsville, and Houston. Houston, 29-point favorites, 126.5 the total. So I started to look at this, and I'm like, can I talk myself into Edwardsville plus 29? Because it's a shit ton of points. But then I looked at Houston's non-con earlier this season. You see these non-conference results for Houston this year? Like, they have absolutely fucking pissed on teams in these non-conference games this year. It's unreal just how the destruction in some of these games. Jackson State, 97-40. Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns, 91-45. Hofstra, 80-44. Troy, 62-42. They didn't cover that, but Troy's pretty good. Toledo, 78-49. Like, they have ripped teams in non-conference play this year, Houston. And I get concerned about that here. If Houston plays well enough and they want to win by 30, they can win by 30 here in this game. They are coming off the Big 12 championship against Arizona. So that's a positive if you want to take Edwardsville, because like I said, I'm not really rushing to back the teams that just won. Actually, that was a Saturday. My bad. Saturday conference championship win for Houston. So that's a little better. They get an extra day because they wrapped up the Big 12 title on Saturday instead of Sunday. It's a lot of points, but boy, I got scared off taking Edwardsville CMAC one. And plus, how are they going to score consistently? That's the one thing. Edwardsville does bog down offensively against some of the better defenses that they played on their schedule. And we've seen Houston. They've won multiple games in non-conference play by 30 plus. So I think it's a stay off game for me personally. The CMAC, what do you think here? SIUE, Houston.
Yeah, to start the year, like I remember, I mean, they lose to Illinois by 32 or 33. This number's right. Like, even their team total under was 48.5, right?
Yep.
49.5. I mean, I could see him struggling to get 50, but it's such a shit ton of points. Can they maybe hang around? I don't know. I don't know if I could take them. 30's a boatload. Like, if they could just maybe sneak in the back door, but I don't know. I'm off here.
Yeah, they're I know they don't have Shed like last year, but you still got Milos Uzan. You've got LJ Cryer, Manuel Sharp, Terrence Arsenault, Joseph Tugler. I mean, they're still a great basketball team. They're still elite defensively, and they're still going to be able to probably make a very deep run here in the NCAA tournament. All right, we go from Cougars and Cougars to Bulldogs versus Bulldogs. Georgia taking on Gonzaga. We've got Gonzaga 6-point favorites, 151.5 the total in this game. You look at these two teams. Credit to Mike White and Georgia getting into the tournament. They needed a strong finish to the season to secure their spot here in the NCAA tournament, and they were able to get it. They did finish the season relatively strong. Can they carry that over here is going to be the question. This has not been as good of a Mark Few Gonzaga team this year, obviously. They have shown some chinks in the armor, some flaws, but to their credit, they come into this tournament playing probably some of their best basketball. Now, is that going to be enough for them to win and cover? That remains to be seen. Georgia's coming off an SEC tournament loss to Oklahoma. They did beat Florida, Texas, South Carolina, Vanderbilt prior to that loss. We'll see if they can keep it rolling here in this game. Mike White's not one of the guys I really trust here. Do I want to lay 6 with Gonzaga? Probably not. So it's probably going to be a pass from a side perspective. I think Gonzaga they could win by 3, they could win by 8 or 10. I think Gonzaga will win, but like I said, I'm not comfortable laying 6. The over is the preferred look for me in this game. Probably we'll see points. Both teams will play with pace. I could see it going up and over to the 151 and a half. Neither team. Gonzaga's not been as good defensively this year, and we know Georgia, their defense comes and goes. CMAC, what do you think here?
Yeah, it does. And I think I was hoping this was a little bit lower because this is one both teams at least get to the line in a good amount, where this game, I think in the second half, could go over. I was hoping for the 149, 148, but I think it's still, Georgia, where they played better a little bit down the stretch was the offense. They kind of opened it up a little bit. They didn't kind of slow it down, where I'd been on a bunch of their unders earlier on during the year. So I kind of lean that way too. I don't know if there's enough value here. 151.
All right, next up, this is a good game. Next one here, Drake and Missouri. Got the Missouri Tigers, 6.5-point favorites. The total here at 132.5 in this matchup. All these games, by the way, this foursome that we're talking about is at Intrust Arena, is where these games are going to be taking place in Wichita, Kansas. You look at Drake and Missouri. Obviously, with this being Wichita, Kansas, you should have a good amount of fans for Missouri. But, I think Drake, great season by Drake, outstanding work and this head coach is not going to be there very long, in my opinion. Ben McCollum here for Drake. That's how good of a job he's done with this group. Has been absolutely outstanding. They've been dominant all year. Obviously, they won the Missouri Valley Tournament Championship and the regular season championship. Dangerous game, I think, though, for Missouri, because Drake's going to frustrate them, slow it down, force them to execute in the half court. And Missouri's at times been susceptible to teams that play that way. So I think the points with Drake interest me here in this game, and it's totally a pace war. Missouri wants to get up and down, and Drake wants a half-court fist fight. Who's going to win out is going to be the question here in this one as far as the pace. I don't really want to guess on that. I guess because I kind of like Drake plus 6.5, I kind of lean then probably to the under, because that means they're going to get their preferred pace, but 132.5 is pretty low. I don't think I want to bet it at that number, but I am interested in Drake plus the points. And I love what I've seen from Missouri. Caleb Stakes on the grill is a great shooter for them. They've got a lot of perimeter firepower. But again, sometimes the teams with the 3-point firepower and the pace that play fast, they can sometimes be in for a struggle playing a team that plays the style that Drake does. So it's a very fascinating matchup. I'm going to lean to Drake plus 6.5. CMAC, what do you think?
Yeah, on the total, as much as like Drake, I think just brings us down. I mean, dead last is this team this year. I mean, by a margin too. Like not even North Texas normally, that the last one there. Like I still think this gets over because they just all year long, even against better defenses, is like I think this is too low. Just way too low. Like Drake playing anyone else, like in conference, no. But I think this gets over. But I think the points with Drake is the way to go here. I think they could definitely hang around. Everything, the culture there is a little bit changed, and just more defense, slowing it down, and they've been great all year. I think they can definitely hang in this basketball game, the 6. Yep. But I think you could get over. I think this might just be a little bit too low in the end.
All right, lean over here.
Drake can get to the free throw line too.
Yes, they can. Yeah, they can. And I noticed
Missouri tops too. Basically, I think there's third. They make 19 a game. They get to 27. I think we could see fouls late. Even though I kind of think this game's a little slower, of course, with Drake, but I still think he can get over.
And there were a couple games on Drake's schedule where they played someone that pushes pace, and they did find ways to get over the number.
Did they beat Vandy?
Yeah.
Early on in a neutral. Hold on. Who else did they kind of play?
Yeah, they tested themselves. We thought Miami was good, and they destroyed
Yeah, they
Miami.
were.
It turns out Miami is terrible
They
this
beat
year. That
FAU. It
remains
was
they
very
did test
good.
themselves. 9-1 on the road, by the way, straight up this year for Drake. They played really well away from home. So something to keep in mind there for this Drake Bulldogs team. And you mentioned it, 30-3, and you're right. They played Miami. They beat Vanderbilt on a neutral, 81-70. 151 points. And that's kind of a blueprint of Missouri here. Vanderbilt plays up and down, good offensive team. That game got into the 150s on a neutral court. So something to factor in there. And there's instances of 85-81 with Indiana State in conference play. Drake actually, believe it or not, was 4-3 to the over at the end of the regular season. Now the 3 games in the Missouri Valley stayed under, but this is a different level of offense that they're going to be facing here in Missouri. So yeah, there's
Yeah.
definitely reasons to like an over with the number being where it is here in this one. All right, NC Wilmington and Texas Tech. We got the Red Raiders 15.5-point favorites in this game, and we've got the total sitting at 143.5. I really like Texas Tech and McCasland as a whole for the tournament. I think they can go far. I think they win this game, but that's a big number. And Wilmington, Takeo Siddle has done a nice coaching job with NC Wilmington. They've got guards, and that's always something that's going to give you an opportunity, to be competitive. Wilmington winning the Coastal Athletic Association, the CAA, to get here into the NCAA tournament. Played some really good basketball down the stretch. You look at their non-conference season, they did cover in a loss at Kansas. By 18, they lost, but as we found out, Kansas maybe not all they were hyped up to be necessarily this season. And really that, to me, is the one great, non-conference team they faced, because they really didn't face anyone really good outside of at Kansas. And in that game, they lost by 18, 84 to 66. So we'll see how this one plays out. I like this Texas Tech team a lot. I think they are going to win this game, but it's one of those deals where I don't want to lay 15.5 with Texas Tech, and I don't know if I trust Wilmington enough for the majority of the 40 minutes in this game against what's a Texas Tech team that can really bring it on that defensive end of the court. So this one I'm probably going to end up passing on. Anything you like here, CMAC, with Wilmington, Texas Tech?
I don't know if I get here with Wilmington. Like, can they have some success on the glass? I think so. I think this team's pretty good. Texas Tech, a lot, when they played these teams, mostly at home, but they've kind of beat up on them. And I do really like to see. I think this is too many. I got to dig a little bit more into Wilmington, a team I backed a bit. I always like to back them, and they played well all year long. I still think Texas Tech can kind of score here at will a little bit. It seems like they could get in the 80s. So maybe this game gets over, or even a Wilmington team total under. So I'm going to look at it a little bit more.
All right, we go
this
to
was a star for me to look at more.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think that's not a bad way to go about it. You can take the team total under for Wilmington if you're not so sure about laying the 15.5 here with Texas Tech. All right, this game's being talked about a lot. UC San Diego, the Tritons, the Big West champions, taking on Michigan. Michigan 2.5-point favorites, 142.5 the total. Michigan kind of got screwed here. They shouldn't be playing a team like UC San Diego. They didn't reward them for being Big Ten tournament champions, and instead they got the 5 seed, and now they've got a very tough first-round opponent, especially because the prime matchup advantage for the Tritons here is they force a ton of turnovers, and Michigan does turn it over a lot. That's the number one thing that stands out about this matchup. They're a turnover-forcing machine, UC San Diego, and Michigan doesn't value the basketball half the time. Now, the counter to that is there's a lot of size for Michigan, and that could pose some trouble here for UC San Diego. But they handled that big man for Irvine pretty well. Now, he's a good player, but there's probably more. There's Twin Towers that you're going to have to deal with here for Michigan. So I think there's legitimate matchup advantages both ways here. Michigan, as far as turning it over, that's going to lead to fast break offense for UC San Diego. But again, dealing with some of that size for Michigan, that they're going to have to deal with here with Golden, with Danny Wolf, and company. That's not going to be easy necessarily. And then, of course, you got the guard play from Donaldson. So the concern here for me, though, is running through the Big Ten tournament, ending on Sunday winning the tournament championship, having to go to the altitude of Denver, Colorado here at Ball Arena for a Thursday game. This is a brutal scheduling situational spot in addition to the tough matchup for Michigan. So I'm going to take the upset here. UC San Diego. I think the Tritons can get it done. And I think they are a legit hell of a basketball team because I've watched a lot of them this year. And I think they just have the makeup. They have the team play. They've got the defense. And obviously, they've got that ability to force turnovers against a turnover-prone team to be able to pull this off. Hayden Gray's a sharpshooter.
Norton he can hit threes. Gray.
He can hit threes. Sure. Chris Howell, Tyler McGee, Tate Jones. I mean, they've got multiple guys that can get you double figures. And I think this is so dangerous for Michigan. Dusty May's done a hell of a job, but I would not be shocked if it's the end of the road for them here. So I like UC San Diego plus 2.5. I like this over, too, because you factor in that Michigan, if they turn it over, UC San Diego is going to push, and try to score quickly off those turnovers, and that could speed it up the pace. Michigan's a team that's kind of not against playing fast under Dusty like he did at Florida Atlantic. So I think this game could be an over game at 142.5. CMAC, what do you think?
I don't know. I think if it's UC San Diego, this goes under. They got to keep this game into kind of a rock fight. And they can. I just hated the matchup, the number here.
Yeah.
Everyone's on UC San Diego. I know this is a quick bounce back, but I think this is just a little bit dangerous. I think Michigan could win this. And this is a UC San Diego team I wanted to take. Maybe they get by here, and I'll be on them next game. But Michigan get no love here. I think they could win this outright. I haven't bet it yet, so it's a wait for me.
All right, next up we got
they definitely can beat them on the boards, and those turnovers I talked about Michigan all year. They just have overcame them, with their talent. They still can score, but I worry that could be an issue here. It leads me more to an under too.
All right, next up we've got Yale and Texas A&M. How many Bulldogs? How many Aggies are we going to see in this tournament? We got more of them here. We've got the Aggies, Texas A&M, that is, minus 7.5, 7.5 point favorites, 140 the total in this game. Yale, we saw them be a giant killer in the first round last year, knocking off Auburn, also an SEC team. Does that mean danger here in this game for Texas A&M? A Texas A&M team that I'm never really that keen on laying 7.5 with them. I think by default, I lean Yale here. I haven't bet this yet. I think A&M's a team that could still win a couple of games here in this tournament for sure. But like I said, I'm a little bit leery right now of taking Texas A&M at this kind of a number against a team. And James Jones has done just a phenomenal coaching job with Yale once again this year. Again, they are just a team that can fill it up. They can score. Obviously, they're a pretty solid defensive team. The question is, will A&M be ready and be able to make shots consistently? Because that's always something that they get in trouble with here when laying these kind of bigger numbers. So for me, it's kind of a lean to Yale, but I'm not feeling the Yale upset potential nearly as much this year against A&M as perhaps last year when they faced Auburn in that first round. CMAC, what do you think here, Yale, A&M?
Yeah, but I think this matchup, they're going to have to tighten up kind of their defense, which I think they can in games like this. But back to last year, where I think they beat Kentucky or barely lost, and then, of course, where they beat Auburn last year in the tournament. I think they match up well. A&M is a great rebounding team, but Yale's pretty good too. This team's been top 20. I mean, of course, we know conference they're in.
Yep. But
I think this matchup is great for them. So I'm on Yale here, plus 7.5.
There we go. Yale for it's a lean for me. Connor liking it more, liking Yale here, plus 7.5. All right, VCU, BYU. BYU 3-point favorites, 146.5 the total. Situational advantages for BYU: location, altitude. They're used to it. VCU had to play Sunday against George Mason in the A10 championship game, and now they got to fly out to Denver for this first round game. Tough for turnaround. That being said, man, I really like VCU as a team, man. They defend, they get in your grill, they rebound, they got a toughness to them. I don't think they're going to be enamored by going out to Denver and playing the BYU Cougars. I think they're a mentally tough team as well. George Mason. This is a great game. It's a hell of a. It's actually one of the games I'm really looking forward to. I just think I can't lay 3 with BYU because I think they're the better defensive team. VCU. I think they have shown me a little bit more of a complete style of basketball compared to the Cougars. To me, when the Cougars' shots fall, they win. When their shots don't fall, what do they have to lean back on? That's what I get concerned about with BYU. But VCU, I'm if the situationals weren't so against them, VCU might be one of my top plays and best bets in the first round at this number. I'm probably still going to take VCU, but the situationals being so negative toward them and so favorable toward BYU are probably going to keep this a smaller bet for me. CMAC, what do you think here, VCU, BYU?
Yeah, this is one I was hoping, maybe a little bit bigger number. Of course, it's not. It is sharp here, 3, 2.5. But that's where I want them. They're the better defensive team in this matchup. Now, BYU, you hit on, we talk about it, could just be red hot from 3. They have the shooters. They got 6 guys, 7 guys, so it just takes 3 of them to be red hot. But we've seen them, last year they lost. Who did they lose to? Duquesne. I had Duquesne. I think Duquesne was catching 8 in that game.
That's right. Yep.
They beat him outright. This is the better defense here. VCU can struggle, but the offense is solid. They hit enough shots. They're decent from the free throw line. This VCU or nothing for me. Denver, fucking nothing.
Yeah, I know. That's
in Denver, I don't give a shit. I mean, Denver.
I'm with you. It's VCU or nothing for me as well. I know BYU has got the location advantage. VCU played Sunday, and it's a tougher team.
I love going against them. I think they're soft when it comes tournament time. They're not. The toughness isn't there. But if they are red hot, they definitely could win this basketball game. Shooting it, they're that talented.
The one thing that does concern me for VCU is the offense kind of dragged in the last 2 A-10 games, Loyola Chicago and George Mason. That offense took a hit. They weren't making the shots weren't falling as much. Shulga struggled more.
BYU doesn't stop anyone though.
No, and
I don't know if that's a huge word.
This guy's like a fucking pit bulldog on this VCU team, and I think he could bully BYU. And that's this Bama Seal for VCU. He's a really, really tenacious player. Great effort, Joe Bama Seal for VCU. I think BYU is going to have their hands full with him in this game, and because you get in their face and you contest them, that's when they sort of flinch. All right, final game for the Thursday NCAA tournament first round slate: Montana and Wisconsin. Wisconsin 17-point favorites, 151.5 the total in this game. This is another one where it's not an easy situational spot for Wisconsin. They went all the way to the Big Ten tournament championship, lost to Michigan on Sunday. Now you're flying to Denver for a Thursday start. Montana probably will travel well. I mean, the trip from Missoula, Montana to Denver, Colorado's not that big of a deal. It's a lot of points to be laying with Wisconsin. But here's the thing. So actually, I'm leaning Wisconsin in this game. The Big Sky has been a disaster in this tournament historically. Big Sky teams not done well here in the NCAA tournament. And typically they've failed to cover and lost by, 15, 20, 25. That's possible here, especially. And the thing is, too, do I really want to bet against Wisconsin when by far their best player, John Tonje, couldn't play worse than he did against Michigan? For as amazing as he was when they beat Michigan State in the semis of the Big Ten, he couldn't hit water in a boat Sunday in that championship game against Michigan. But he's a damn good shooter. And that's highly unlikely he's going to shoot like that for a second straight game. And the one thing about Montana is their defense at times has been a little bit susceptible. And again, this is probably the best Wisconsin offense. And it just felt like that was one of those ugly games. The offense didn't work, but that's probably a one-off. They've been a very good offensive team, and that concerns me here for Montana. You got Wisconsin, and Tonje in particular, off his all-time worst game of the season. That look out now coming off that kind of a game that Wisconsin's going to be a whole lot better. So it's a tough game, but I'm actually leaning to the favorite a little bit and laying the points in this one. I think the over could get there as well. I'm just hoping it was was just hoping maybe it was just a little bit lower than it is here at 151.5. CMAC, what do you think?
I think it could get there too. It seems like, especially after the game that they had, like one thing with Montana, they can give up buckets. They can score. Like, can they have some success here against Wisconsin? I mean, you talked about it's been a struggle the last few years for the Big Sky, but they have great numbers. Can they get some easy baskets? They shoot it all right. They get to the free throw line. I think this could get over. I was looking at this a ton today over here.
Well, I respect I respect a lot of those guys. Malik Moore and Kai Johnson and that Joe Pridgeon. They got guys that can put it in for Montana, no doubt. But defense is lacking, and I think they're going to have a hard time containing this Badgers team. And you got a buy low point on the Wisconsin offense. That was just one of those games where, you don't have it. You just don't have a good shooting game collectively, and it happened for them against Michigan. And it's hard to bet against teams coming off, good teams when they're off that kind of a lower performance. A lot of times they do bounce back.
Yeah, they might roll. Yeah. Their team total's high, but that might get there.
That wouldn't surprise me if it does. Great stuff, CMAC. I love talking about those games. That was great. Great analysis, my friend. You brought your best. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. Ross Pitts, Kenny Woo Woo Woo, Nick Alvento, Rick J, Gold Jew, Rez Mob, Old E. We appreciate Justin McKelvey, everyone joining us as always. Timothy Hake. We appreciate all of you joining us here for this. Dram Yankee, Julio Villa, everyone in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. All right, it's time to wrap this show up with best bets. A Thursday NCAA tournament first round best bet. CMAC, what from the Thursday card do you like the most?
This is not Thursday. We're going to tonight. We'll give you tonight.
Yeah, you can go tonight.
Yesterday.
Absolutely.
We're going tonight.
Yep.
They're going to have to make their shots, but I think they're just tough enough. The 7-footers back. I can't get over the defensive numbers and how well this team's played on neutral courts, the last 3 or 4 years. I think they're excited they're here. I know everything that's going on with North Carolina, but I'm on San Diego State plus 4.5. I think they're in the game. So they can't be awful shooting. That could be a problem, but I think they're in the game there. Plus 4.5.
Brian Dutcher, he knows a thing or two about winning in the NCAA tournament. We'll see if he can. I don't think this is one of his better teams compared to the last few years, but we'll see if he can recreate that magic here tonight. San Diego State plus 4.5 against North Carolina in the first 4 on Tuesday night for CMAC with his best bet. My best bet from the Thursday NCAA tournament first round card, that is where I'm going to turn to, and I'm going to turn to those High Point Panthers getting the 8 against Purdue. I think they're very live in that game. I almost went with the over in that game, and that was nearly best bet as well. I think that's best bet worthy too, the over in that game. But I'm going to go with High Point plus 8 against Purdue. I think that is a close competitive game. Purdue struggling down the stretch. Defensively, not the same unit. We know Matt Painter is prone to losses and or tougher games than expected in the NCAA tournament when he's favored. So there we go. I'm going to rock with High Point, the Panthers, plus 8 against Purdue. That is going to be my best bet for this edition of College Basketball Hitting the Book Show. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And again, we're here, our last show of the week tomorrow. And we'll break down the Friday NCAA tournament games on tomorrow's show. On Wednesday, we'll be off Thursday, Friday, and then we'll be back with you on the weekend at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, Saturday and Sunday to get you ready for the round of 32 in the NCAA tournament. That's it for CMAC. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll see you again tomorrow on Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific for another edition of the College Basketball Hitting the Book Show. Until then, class dismissed.
Peace.